Iran on Saturday sought to project an image of stability amid weeks of unrest and rising concerns over a possible U.S. military strike, releasing rare public images of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as senior officials warned Washington and Israel against any military action. Iranian state media published photographs showing Khamenei attending prayers at the mausoleum of Islamic Republic founder Ruhollah Khomeini, marking the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. The appearance marked Khamenei's first public sighting since protests erupted across the country and appeared aimed at countering opposition claims that he had been moved to an underground bunker amid fears of a U.S. attack. The display came as Iran's military leadership issued fresh warnings. Army Chief Major General Amir Hatami said Iran's forces were on high alert following what he described as heavy U.S. military deployment in the Gulf region. He cautioned that any attack would have serious consequences. If the enemy makes a mistake, it will undoubtedly endanger its own security, the security of the region, and the security of the Zionist regime, Hatami said, according to the state news agency IRNA. He added that Iran's armed forces were at full defensive and operational readiness. Hatami also rejected suggestions that Iran's nuclear capabilities could be eliminated, responding to comments by U.S. President Donald Trump, who said he expected Tehran to seek negotiations rather than face American military action. Tensions have escalated after Washington deployed a naval strike group to the Middle East, led by the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln. Trump has threatened military intervention following a deadly crackdown by Iranian authorities on 2 weeks of anti-government protests. The deployment has heightened fears of a direct confrontation. Iran has warned it would retaliate with missile strikes against U.S. bases, naval assets, and regional allies, including Israel, if attacked. On Friday, Trump said he believed Iran would opt for negotiations over its nuclear and missile programs to avoid U.S. strikes. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi earlier said Tehran was open to nuclear talks, but stressed that Iran's missile program and defensive capabilities were not negotiable. The latest developments follow U.S. strikes on key Iranian nuclear sites in June, when Washington briefly joined Israel's 12-day conflict with Iran.
A warning is being delivered quietly, but it carries explosive consequences. Iran is signaling that if it is attacked by the United States, the response will not be limited to the battlefield. Tehran has reportedly warned regional governments that U.S. embassies across the Middle East could become targets. Iran's top security official, Ali Larijani, secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, is said to have contacted officials in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, delivering a blunt message. If Washington strikes Iran, American diplomatic missions in the region would be at risk. The warnings circulated behind closed doors as the Ayatollah Khamenei aide held a high-level meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. The meeting, confirmed by the Russian presidency, came without public details, fueling speculation over its timing and intent. Larijani is no ordinary envoy. He is a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, and he is now under U.S. sanctions for his alleged role in the violent crackdown on anti-government protests that have shaken Iran since late December. Those protests, sparked by economic hardship, have turned deadly. Tehran claims they are not spontaneous, but foreign-backed, designed to destabilize the regime and justify outside intervention. Washington sees the situation differently. U.S. President Donald Trump has already moved a powerful naval armada into the region, applying pressure as talks over a new nuclear deal stall. Media reports say military planning is active, with options ranging from strikes on Iranian forces and nuclear sites to targeting senior officials. Trump has warned of an attack far worse than previous strikes. Iran's response has been unequivocal. If attacked, Tehran says it will defend itself and respond like never before. Now, with military drills underway, warships converging, embassies on alert, and world powers quietly coordinating behind the scenes, the risk of miscalculation is rising. This is no longer just a standoff over diplomacy. It is a test of red lines and how close the region may be to crossing them. The warning is clear, and it's coming from the sea. As Iran announces a live-fire naval exercise in the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point, the United States Central Command is urging restraint. Centcom is calling on Iran's Revolutionary Guard to avoid dangerous and escalatory behavior, warning that the narrow waterway, used by nearly 100 merchant vessels every single day, cannot afford miscalculation. Centcom says it will not tolerate unsafe actions, including high-speed approaches toward U.S. warships, low-altitude armed flyovers, or weapons pointed at American forces. The message is blunt: professional conduct or consequences. This warning comes as President Donald Trump confirms the United States is moving a larger naval force toward Iran, larger, he says, than recent deployments off Venezuela.
We have a large armada, flotilla, you can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela. It's still in front of Venezuela. The Venezuelan situation, the leadership is doing a very good job. We're very happy, and we're getting along very, very well. And we're inviting countries of the world very shortly. They're going to be starting to take the oil. We're going to be heading that with the country, and it's worked out really well. We're now sending actually a larger number of ships to Iran, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens.
Are you giving Iran any kind of deadline to make a deal before potentially taking
Only
military
they
action?
know for sure.
Have you communicated that to them
Yeah,
directly?
I have.
Does your residents do you have a timeline for when you're going to pull back potentially the federal presence there?
No, we'll see how it all works out. You know, they have to float someplace. They might as well float near Iran, but it's a rough situation going on. So I stopped 837 people, as you know, last week from being hung. They were going to hang 830. It was all set, and I mean, I'm looking at the people behind me. They're saying, "What kind of racing's a lot nicer than that?" They were going to hang 837 people, and I told them, if you do it, you're going to pay a price like nobody's ever paid before. And they pulled back. I appreciated that. But a lot of people are being killed, so we'll see what happens. I can say this: they do want to make a deal.
Is your plan to replicate there what you just did in Venezuela?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to talk. I mean, I don't want to talk about anything having to do with what I'm doing militarily. But we have a tremendously powerful fleet there. We have the most powerful ships in the world. We have the most powerful military by far in the world. We showed that on numerous occasions. I mean, I rebuilt the military in my term. If I didn't do, I wouldn't, I think, be able to say that. But I rebuilt the military, the entire United States military in my first term. And now we're building it bigger, better, stronger than ever before. I'm adding to it. We're adding something called a battleship. You would find this interesting. You know, the old-fashioned beautiful battleships? And we're adding up to 25 of them. Each battleship is 100 times more powerful than the battleships of the 1940s, those big, powerful ones with the guns, because of what the ships carry. But we're going to build 10, and then we'll see how we like them, and we're going to go and do another 15 after that. Could be up to 25 battleships, 100 times more powerful. Can you imagine that? And it's peace or strength. We don't want to use them, but if we have to use them, we will.
Behind the scenes, however, the tone may be shifting. According to a Western source familiar with U.S.-Israeli coordination, diplomacy may no longer be the central question. The source tells Iran International that decision-making circles have moved past whether a military strike will happen and are now focused only on when. The scenario being discussed, the source claims, would be unprecedented, aimed not at negotiation, but at delivering a decisive blow to Iran's governing structure. A campaign, he says, unlike anything Iran has faced before. Joint U.S.-Israeli assessments reportedly view the current moment as a rare operational window, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, with a higher tolerance for risk than in previous confrontations. Israel, the source says, is on full alert. One scenario under discussion, waiting for a spark, a single Iranian missile that could justify a much broader and more destructive response. If Israel becomes directly involved, the source warns, past conflicts would look small by comparison. Still, publicly, Washington maintains its position. Centcom says U.S. forces will continue to operate with professionalism, protect freedom of navigation, and safeguard personnel, ships, and aircraft across the Middle East. But as warships move closer, as live-fire drills begin, and as deadlines remain undisclosed, the question is no longer just about diplomacy. It's about how close this standoff is drifting to the edge.